Oh, for the director.
Dear precious Jesus, we thank you for today. We thank you for the safety of the travelers. Please bring them home again safe and sound. Thank you, Lord, for every person that's here, every home that's represented. And even in our differences, help us to know that we truly love one another and we care. It's just that we get compassionate with our feelings. But help us always to see the path that the other person is walking on. Help us to know that if we walk alongside on our own path, we'll both end up in the right position. Thank you again, Lord, for this board meeting. Help us listen with wisdom and talk with wisdom. Amen.
Okay, we'll start with our roll call.
Here. Kathy? Here. DJ?
Here.
Keith?
Here.
Kim?
It's on our way. Where's Kim? It's on our way. Oh, okay.
Catherine? Here. Jenny?
Here.
Denise?
Here.
Bridget? Here. Darcy?
Here.
Jennifer? Here. Aaron?
Here. Okay, on our agenda tonight we have Commercial Express Card Program, PNC Bank, Native Employment Works, Acceptance of 2015 Northern Casino, Quaden Casino Audit, Amending Tribal Code Chapter 21, Inland Hunting and Fishing, Video Conferencing Great Lakes Committee, Video Conferencing Inland Hunting and Fishing, Appointment of Elizabeth Cromp, Warner, Reserve Appellate Judge, Appointment of Carrie Wichtman as Appellate Judge Attorney, Appointment of Carrie Wichtman as Chief Judge of Appellate Court, and then under budgets we have Great Lakes Restoration Initiative Wildlife Projects, Coastal Programs, Foreign Pay Grid, After Hours Health Care Clinic Contracts. And that's what's on the agenda. So what is the pleasure of the board?
Motion clarifying that.
That's for clerk. No, that's authority.
Okay.
We did that.
I did that.
Oh, what about accepting the audit?
That's on there.
That's on there.
Oh, you read
Third
that?
one.
Yeah.
Are you
Alright,
doing
is there a
that
motion?
clarifying this election committee?
No,
Second.
they said they didn't do it. Second.
Motion and support.
Keith and Bridget?
Of course.
All in favor of, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries.
Aaron?
Yes.
Motion and excuse again. I always said
I think we need to wait because I think she's on her way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I beat her, I can't believe it. Really?
So we'll just wait a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
hear that.
The first resolution is Commercial Express Card Program, PNC Bank.
Be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians as follows. Section 1, Findings and Determinations. Board of Directors finds and determines that 1.1, the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians is a federally recognized Indian tribal government organized under the provisions of the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934. 1.2, the tribe wishes to enter into a new credit card program agreeable with PNC Bank, National Association Bank on terms determined to be more favorable to the tribe than current arrangements. And 1.3, bank has refused to consent to such amendment without a waiver of tribal court jurisdiction in an agreement to indemnify bank against certain limited claims. And 1.4, in order to induce bank to enter into the Visa Commercial Express Card Program, version March 2nd, 2015, the tribe is required to confirm that the tribe and all other entities claiming by, through or under the tribe will not claim exclusive tribal court jurisdiction with respect to any disputes or causes of action between the tribe and bank that might arise from or relate to, in any respect, the agreement or object to the indemnification provisions of that agreement found in paragraph 15, page 5, and 1.5, it is the tribe's interest to resolve as stated herein. Section 2, consent to jurisdiction governing law indemnification. 2.1, the tribe hereby consents to the indemnification clause found in paragraph 15, page 5 of the agreement, which requires tribe to indemnify bank for losses resulting from or the use of the cards or relating to the program, provided that tribe shall be under no obligation to indemnify bank for losses resulting from the gross negligence or willful misconduct of bank. And 2.2, the agreement and all questions related to the subject matter thereof shall be governed by and construed in accordance with the laws of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania as set forth in the agreement, paragraph 18. And 2.3, the Board of Directors waives the exclusive jurisdiction of the tribal court over any action arising under the agreement and consents to the jurisdiction of the courts of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania as set forth in the agreement, and the courts of the Western District of Pennsylvania, including any courts to which decisions of these courts may be appealed.
Second.
Motion and support, Bill.
Bill Conley, Tribal CFO. We're requesting to change our internal credit card provider for two of our programs, the purchasing department and the travel department. And as typical of most of our dealings with banks, they're requesting a waiver of tribal court jurisdiction. And the reason that we're asking for this change is that we believe the card from PNC is more user-friendly and will allow us to keep better track of the charges and payments related to the two entities, purchasing and travel, that use the cards.
Okay, questions and comments? DJ.
We have a waiver with Huntington right now?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is routine. The chairman does not have a travel credit card.
There's only 3 total, so
Not now.
I used to.
Yeah, it was used.
Last term. All right, any final questions or comments? Catherine.
I assume that's just for efficiency. I mean, it gets paid off every month.
it gets paid off every month. The problem is that the current provider pays it all in a lump, where we want it paid by individual card,
I see.
and we don't get that currently, and it's hard to track who's paying for what and how the payments are getting applied.
But for all intents and purposes, interest rate isn't a factor because we pay it off in full.
Pay them all off.
That's it.
Okay. And all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carries. That is 93.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Native Employment Works Program.
Now therefore be it resolved that the St. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians designates Anishinaabe Community and Family Services as the tribal lead agency to receive and administer the Native Employment Works Program through the period of FY 2017 through 2020. Be it further resolved that the Board of Directors of the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians hereby authorizes the chairperson, Aaron E. Payment, or his designee to sign, negotiate, and execute documents on behalf of the tribe to obtain continued Native Employment Works grant funding.
Motion approved.
We have a motion and support. Jessica.
Jessica Dunbeck, Assistant Executive Director for the Sioux Tribe. I'm here tonight on behalf of Juanita Bai from the ACFS Department. And what this resolution will allow for is for her program to submit a grant. It'll be federal funding in the amount of $113,000. And the program assists low-income tribal households with obtaining or sustaining employment, and basically allowing them to become less reliant on public assistance.
Okay, are there any questions or comments from the board? Catherine.
Jessica, do you know, you might not, but is this the Department of Labor? Is that the federal agency that funds?
Department of Health and Human Services.
HHS, yeah. Okay, any final questions or comments? Hearing none, this is a roll call.
Bridget,
Yes.
Lana,
Yes.
DJ,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Darcy,
Yes.
Catherine,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Denise,
Yes.
Keith,
Yes.
Denny.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next is acceptance of the 2015 Northern Kuwait Casinos audit.
Be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians hereby accepts and approves the 2015 Northern Kuwait Casinos audit as presented by Anderson, Tackman and Company, PLC.
Second.
Motion and support. Ken.
Ken Erminger, I'm the Executive Director of the Gaming Commission. Anderson Tackman did our mixed compliance audit and a financial audit. for the casinos, and they're due at the end of the month in DC and Minneapolis. So it's been through the audit committee, the gaming commission, the gaming authority, and now it's come to the board. It's well traveled.
It's been a long day today, haven't you? Okay, so are there any questions or comments? DJ?
Yeah, I asked mine to Bill earlier, that audit doesn't have the outstanding balance due to the tribe listed as a liability, correct?
I think that's the tribal audit that comes from the other audit. Right.
But it still would be a liability of the gaming authority, correct? But it's not in the audit.
Not in this audit. There's a game, it would be in the governmental audit.
Well, yes, I understand that, but it would still, you know what I mean, it should be booked as a liability, that's how I feel, just like any outstanding debt.
I don't understand why, I can't hear you.
We usually get 16 million, we got 15.53, so.
We usually get
17, yes. Yeah, so we don't have the full earmark liability, so.
Other questions or comments? I had a question that was asked to me earlier, and I think I know the answer, but after we vote on this at this level, this document is not a private document or proprietary.
Yes, it is.
It still is?
Yes, it is.
Who's answering that question?
Yeah, I'm hearing words, but.
Well,
That is not.
So if it were attached to the resolution, it would be. Since it's not, it's to the extent that it's a meeting of the FOIA code protects business and proprietary information. If the release would prejudice. So I think it's kind of an open question.
Motion to amend to make public.
There's a motion and a second to amend to make public.
And you just provide the attack.
We just do it without objection.
Is there any objection?
I object.
Yeah.
So there's a motion to amend. We open on the discussion on motion to amend. DJ.
And to make public, is that what you said?
Anything on the agenda is public. I mean, I understand the brief legal interpretation, but I also know that basically it's on the agenda, so any tribal member who wants to review anything that's on the agenda can do so. In addition to the Constitution, the membership has the constitutional right to inspect the books of the tribe. Therefore, it's a book of the tribe.
And it's already open to the membership.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
they can already see.
I know, that's why I'm saying.
Point of information.
Yes.
I asked this question earlier this morning in a closed session, and I was briefed by 3 or 4 different people that it wasn't proprietary. According to our FOIA code and everything is protected and confidential information that wasn't allowed to be FOIA'd, it wasn't allowed to be released. I'm just telling you what I was told by a group of our employees who were supposed to know this. So, because I want to do the same thing. And I was cautioned, absolutely not. I was told absolutely not cautioned. So, that's why I objected, is because if they've got a concern about this, then we, without thinking, might be releasing proprietary information that could help competitors, that could help other things, and I don't want that to go that way. So that's what they were telling me. That's why I objected.
Okay, and I was a little concerned about that as well, but it seems to me if it's not eligible for FOIA and it's not eligible to be released, I don't know that means that the membership can't still take, it's still available for viewing in the same process we had before we had a FOIA, the same process we had before there was electronic email. And that's that any tribal member can come forward and ask to review our
John, can you clarify on that?
We've always had that before there was the internet.
So that's my understanding of the past practice, the tribe has always been concerned about releasing financial information about the casino because of it may adversely affect the casino in respect with regard to other competing casinos and businesses.
But they could come
Tribal
in.
members have always been allowed to come in and inspect but not make copies.
And we still
now
have.
have the FOIA
Yeah,
code.
we can get to it.
What that does is it avoids members having to come to the board to get permission to see tribal records, but it contains certain exemptions.
Right.
One exemption is for business and proprietary information the disclosure of which would adversely affect the tribe's businesses. And that's a judgment call as to what, I'm not sure what's in this report and whether it would fit that criteria or not, but I understand that these kinds of audit reports have always been made available for inspection by tribal members. And the motion on the floor is certainly appropriate. The board has the authority to disclose it. The question that you want to focus on, depending on the contents of it, is does it contain information that you would not want to make readily available to outsiders?
Well, and I guess my point just is that prior to us passing a FOIA, is that passing the FOIA or electronics, it's still, we still have what we've always had.
Yes.
We haven't restricted that in any way.
No, he just clarified that, so you're not speaking the same language. You walked through it very carefully, and the answer to it is no. Where you previously could come and just get a look at it, now you go through FOIA.
No.
FOIA is going to deny it. Isn't that what you just said?
In the FOIA, it still allows you the rights afforded to you in the Constitution.
They still have the right.
However,
to
he also read the section about business and proprietary.
But that
So if
was
you
in
go and
the
ask Bill Connolly to look at it, Bill Connolly is going to say no, he's going to say go to file a FOIA, then FOIA is going to review it and they're going to determine it's business and proprietary.
It's like a video.
I can tell you that if a FOIA request came in to Joanne, then she would probably come to me and I would go to Bill and try to determine whether there was any information in the report that created a concern that fit within the exemption. I doubt very much that we would exempt the entire report, but it's conceivable that if some of the information was deemed to be confidential, that it would adversely affect the business, then it might be withheld. I think the concern that was raised earlier with respect to the tax liability and so on is not such a concern. I think the concern that we generally had has been more in terms of the total revenues, total expenses of the casino, and that's the kind of information that we generally not want to disclose publicly.
Okay, I just want to make sure we got all that clarified, so no staff are going to be blamed for not doing what they're supposed to do. We know how that will walk through. It will be denied depending on what the information is that's being requested. Okay.
So then is it, if that is the interpretation, is it then fair to say that by us passing the FOIA, we have amended what had always been in place prior to that, which was that you could come in and physically view, because it doesn't say that when we pass the FOIA. So
I think that's correct. I think what we did was we interpreted that the provision in the Constitution was not self-executing, and what we did is we gave it structure. So it didn't necessarily limit what you could get access to, because you couldn't get access to certain things even before the FOIA. The FOIA gave a pathway in order to be able to get legitimate information.
So is it fair to say we might need to go back and do a little rescission of anything else that was there because it wasn't addressed in the FOIA? I'm just saying, because I certainly didn't realize that by passing a FOIA, somebody may come in and say, I'd like to take a look at those, books, the audits on how much money you really made at the casino. I didn't know that they wouldn't necessarily be able to do that anymore. That's something that we've always had.
Okay, DJ, Lana, Bill, Denny.
Yeah, actually, that's not what it says. But I will say this. We publish our financials once a year in our tribal paper. We publish these same financials. The only difference is it isn't going to come out till August, which shows the actual performance of the casinos. I can go back through all the papers and I can show you the financials every year. We used to do an annual report to the membership where we actually showed them in detail the financials. So this don't show the financials, blah. Let's vote it up, vote it down, whatever, because any member can come to the board and ask to see information, and the constitutional right still exists pursuant, yes, it does. And that's exactly what you're doing right now, so guess what? Vote how you're gonna vote.
Okay, Lana.
So right now, a member can come in per our Constitution and review, once we pass this, they can review this document. Wait, Catherine. And you explained that the reason why we passed when we passed the FOIA, I truly believe people could come in, look at an audit. They don't get to take copies. They don't get to take it out of the building, but they can review it per their constitutional right. We passed FOIA, put form to the structure saying if they want to get the information, it has to pass through a system. We can mail it to them then. That's how I understood it,
It
and that's
depends on
how.
whether or not it's determined by
Right,
the
and I
people
know
vested.
there's proprietary information, but I didn't think that we hindered, if Joe wanted to come in and look at this document before we passed a FOIA, he could. After we passed the FOIA, he could still come in and look at this document without filling out a FOIA report. Right, DJ?
It's
John's got
That's
administrative.
right. That's the way I understood it when we did that whole
John
thing.
just explained the protocol.
He just,
So,
that's how he explained it.
the Constitution, the tribal constitution says that any tribal member can have access to the business records of the tribe.
Right.
Upon reasonable request to the board. Okay. That is unchanged, and the statute cannot contradict that.
Right.
So technically, what existed before was, in most cases, tribal members had to come to the board and make the request, and essentially the board would determine whether the request was reasonable or unreasonable.
And that's what we're doing right now.
Right. Now, you've now passed the FOIA, which try to simplify the process, and what the FOIA statute does is essentially delegate to a staff person the authority to hand out most documents and records, subject to the exemptions that are listed in the code. So you don't want staff having unfettered discretion to hand out anything, so you've imposed upon Joanne the responsibility of looking at the records and determining whether there's an exemption. One of the exemptions instructs her to be careful about records that involve proprietary information, and if it's information that, if released publicly, could be harmful to the tribe's businesses, she's supposed to withhold it. That would not prevent the same person who made that request from coming to the board, and they could appeal to court under FOIA, or they could come to the board and exercise their constitutional right to see it.
Yes.
Director Hoffman has made a proposal that you preemptively determine in this case that this particular document should be freely available to tribal members. That would be the board exercising its authority under the Constitution. It doesn't contradict the FOIA. And I think it seems to me that the decision comes down to the question of what's in the document and whether you think that any of that information is so sensitive it should be withheld to protect the tribe's business interests. I don't know the answer. I haven't seen it.
Hold on, Bill, Denny.
Nobody gave me a copy.
There's two elements. There's the actual audit, and then there's the summary report.
Well, there's financial by location, there's enterprise funds, there's proprietary components.
And this goes to NIGC.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's separate from, I think what people are getting at is what's in this report.
And so I can file.
Revenue for the last 3 years.
I'm sure you can. In fact, I think they publish.
Yeah, they publish our numbers. You send it to NIGC, which is a federal agency, then someone can file a federal FOIA for the information. So
The federal FOIA also has an exemption that this tribe has invoked fairly recently, in which we can ask them to withhold proprietary information.
NIGC, not BIA. Not at the BIA level, not NIGC. NIGC is a whole different animal.
I don't know about this tribe.
NIGC is
That's the NIGC.
overseen
No,
by
I mean,
the interior.
Okay, Bill, Denny, DJ, and I think I got a solution. Easy. Okay, Denny.
I got on.
TJ.
Let's hear your solution.
All right, I'll ask without objection that we read the gaming revenues for all of our properties collectively for the last 3 years. There's no objection. The reason why I ask that is because this number that we saw today comes as a surprise to the board, at least some of us. And the numbers that I've been using in my roadshow on the mandatory trust, the number's pretty significantly different than that. And I know that was 2013. So the revenues in 2013, which match with what I've been talking about, is $80,339,900. Revenues for 2014 dropped by about 6 million to 74,750,344. Revenues for 2015 have dropped to $61,429,039. So a differential of almost $19 million in the last 3 years in our revenues, as reported by our audit.
I think we need to clarify that because I think the
comps and all those types of activities that they made changes to would have been in the revenues of the earlier years, not in the most recent.
Okay, so that should be deducted.
Just to be careful,
Added,
it's not just a flat out.
They're in your costs.
Jenny, the
They're in your
treasurer.
actual
Yeah, add it back
costs.
in,
They're
yes.
they're in your costs.
Benny?
You know, you won't know till this time next year to measure apples to apples. In 2000, our bottom line was $40 million. Our bottom line last year was 25.3. It's been a steady downhill climb, okay? But when you measure apples, that's the EBITDA. That's not the coin in, that's EBITDA. For 16 years, we've been going downhill. But you're not going to be able to measure apples to apples until, actually next month will be the first month we really get a taste of it. So I don't care if you publish it, I don't care if you print it out. The only thing that bothers me is our strengths and weaknesses are talked about in there. That's a part I don't want our competitors to have. I don't care if tribal members have it. But why would you want your strengths and weaknesses out in the open? That's my only thing, but let's publicize it. You know, governors and senators can get their emails all printed up and put, you know, get a subpoena. We can't do that to our people, to our members, our board members. Let's get it all out. We should not have anything to hide. I don't have nothing to hide. I don't care if you print it all. But we're sitting here arguing for a half hour on something the Constitution says can be done. Let's get it done.
Okay, any final comments? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call on the amendment.
What's the amendment?
Yeah, what is it?
The amendment is to make public the audit.
No. What specific?
As in the document?
And what is the specific document? That is my question. Which one is it?
There's 3-4 documents
Right.
there.
One says the Kuwait and Casinos Enterprise Funds financial statement by location. One says proprietary component unit of the Sioux Tribe of Chippewa Indians.
The resolutions for the entire audit, so.
So it would be all 3 documents?
Well, let me do it this way.
Okay.
Let's try it this way. Is there objection to, so we'll narrow it down to objections. Is there objection to the Quake Casinos, Sioux, St. Ignace, Manistee, Christmas, and Hessler? Is there any objection?
Aaron, just to clarify, it's public to the membership, not.
There is one objection there. Okay. How about the Kuwait Casinos Gaming Authority proprietary component unit of the Sioux St. Tribe of Chippewa Indians?
Yes.
How about financial statements by location?
Yeah, I do. They're-
How about Kuwait Casinos Gaming Authority financial statements graphical presentation?
Point of information.
I think that's fine.
Point of information, Eric.
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
You will be posting administratively this in detail. Anyways, somebody does. Somebody who creates this document and publishes it in a way that is readable to the membership. We publish that information anyways. Every single year we do.
At the end of the year, we do.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, and the summary information at the end of the year. Yeah.
Summary, all of that. So we do
But
that.
this one has material,
And
we don't have any deficiencies, we've got to clean up.
We already objected to that.
Oh, okay.
My point of information is to the membership, this information is already put out there yearly. Now that we're flushing this out, once a year it's put out there anyways. They can audit it, they can constitutionally come in and look at it. So, I just hope it doesn't get spun around when people vote no. Attach it, this document to it.
Are you replacing it with this? Or
I would just,
Sorry.
I'm not objecting.
This is the final one, is there any objection to this?
Was that the only one that you're?
Okay, there is an objection.
There is?
There was.
No, there was an objection.
Oh, well, I asked if there's objection and that has.
Who's it?
No objection.
I'm not gonna say, I'm not gonna.
So this
So
is,
was there an objection or not?
I think there was.
I don't see any objection.
It wasn't for me. If you-
No objection.
Well then, so moving on with that part
Is
then.
it just that part is what you're voting to release?
So we're only
Just
releasing
this document.
Okay, let me ask you
Only
again, watch
release
your body language, because if you go like this,
Well,
then you do
name the
object.
person, Eric.
I'm not gonna do that, that's not necessary. Was there any, is there any, yes, raise your hand if you object.
Two.
Just this.
Okay, to make that one public.
Okay, there's
Change
no
it to
objection.
this.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what we're voting
This is the
on.
one we'll make public.
Right.
Okay,
Not the one that's written.
Okay, roll call.
roll call. Lana, to make this public.
Oh, the, okay,
This is the amendment.
yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
DJ?
Yep.
Keith?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
Denny?
Yes.
Denise?
Yes.
Bridget?
Yes.
Darcy?
Yes.
Jennifer? Yes. Okay, motion
Okay,
carries.
so now we're back to the main motion with the amendment. Are there any further questions or comments?
Call for the question. Ken needs to
All in favor,
stand there.
signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Do I see
Any
it?
abstain? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, next is amending Travel Code, Chapter 21, inland hunting and inland fishing, use of suppression weapons.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors hereby amends Chapter 21 at Section 21.515 by amending it to read, "The use of a device or apparatus known as a suppressor is permitted. Nothing herein supersedes any federal law pertaining to the ownership or use of a suppressor. Be it further resolved that this amendment shall not take effect until 30 days after its enactment."
Motion.
Second.
Motion and support, and we have the chairman.
I'm chairman of the, Bob Dreschi, chairman of the Inland Committee. This was brought forward by one of the members of the committee. Apparently, Europe suppressors are used quite frequently there. It's for hearing for young kids and elderly, basically to keep the noise level down.
I have one, yeah.
I want to make sure that people realize this is not a silencer, it's a suppressor. Federal law, you still got to go through the federal laws, jump through the hoops to get the suppressor, and it sounds like it's a drawn-out deal. It takes anywhere from 6 weeks to a couple months to get it through, so there's nothing new that's out there that's available to the public right now.
Okay, recommendation of the committee.
Recommendation of the committee was to pass this, so.
All right, are there any questions from the board? We already have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
One opposed.
Oh, wait, one?
One opposed.
Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you.
For your patience. Next is video conferencing Great Lakes Conservation Committee meetings.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors directs tribal administration to coordinate the conduct of Great Lakes Conservation Committee meetings over the tribe's video conferencing equipment at the Manistee and Munising Community Centers by assigning those tribal employees that are needed to operate the equipment and keep secure those tribal facilities housing the video conferencing equipment.
Okay, there's a motion, is support?
Second.
Motion and support. Discussion. Oh, actually, the sponsor, would you like to explain it?
Yeah. Great Lakes Conservation Committee, it's been brought up, since I've been on the board, I know it's been an issue in the past. Our weather out here isn't the greatest at times of the year, or we don't have tribal members that don't have reliable transportation or the funds for the gas. They want to be able to participate in our meetings that we hold. So this way, with the equipment that the tribe already has at some of the facilities, Manistee and Munising here, the members would be able to come here and still be able to hear the meetings going on for the Great Lakes, and I also have inland is on next, the inland hunting, so that they can still participate in the meetings. There wouldn't be any votes or anything like that. The committee members have to still attend their committee meeting. They have to be in person to vote because that's in their code. But this would open it up so that membership was able to participate and not felt, not included because of the long distance and the weather that we endure out here. And then with the fishing, the 2020 consent decree coming out, we're right now working on getting an attorney, and this way they would also have input in any of those sessions that we had. And that's for people that just throw out nets, have subsistence. They're not Great Lakes fishermen, but they subsistence fish. A lot of people do that at their homes, so you still have input, so I think that's necessity out here, and that's why I brought it forward, these two resolutions.
Okay, are there questions or comments? Additional comments? Len?
Who's gonna be the, I didn't hear an answer. Let's see, assigning those tribal employees that are needed to operate the equipment. Who's that gonna be?
I think it would be through the chain of command.
Yeah, it says administration will set them up.
I'll be laughing at Russ.
Kevin?
Well, I'm sorry, were you done?
Well, I'm still waiting for an answer.
It would be through the chain of command. It would be, so like, I
Like a
can't.
liaison, I'll give you an example, Mary's a liaison out here.
I could direct that.
Clarence is a liaison, so, you know.
If it's somebody in the health center, then the health director would have to do it. So I can't reach down and direct it to the health director, but it would be the health director. Catherine?
Well, I actually think this is a pretty good idea. I wish we had the same in our unit, but we don't, and I wouldn't want to hold this up because of that. That's just a chronic issue in Unit 2, access to.
You can actually do it.
But having said that, I think there were two good valid points that were brought up today that I don't think anybody can actually give an answer to, and that's utilization. I mean, how many people are really going to show up and use it? And also what the ultimate cost will be, what with staff changes or anything. Maybe it'll be nothing. But I would feel a lot better about it if we maybe just put like a 1 year, try it out for a year. And if it ended up costing us a heck of a lot of money and or nobody shows up to use it, that we can revisit it and maybe just discontinue it. I would feel a lot better about that.
I will ask without objection if we
That we
include
could
that.
recommend it like that.
I'd like to also ask without an objection if the implementation happened after Christine has an opportunity and the CEO has an opportunity to bring back the full cost of the implementation, just so we're not expected to set it at the next meeting, but we can bring back a report.
Right, and could you also add in there or change to allow those other areas that do have, if they end up at the video conferencing or wherever it might be, whether it's Hessel, Escanaba, Marquette, wherever the offices are, if you have, area that down the road that they can just automatically look at that and change.
So without
If they ever get it, yeah.
Yes.
Without
very
an
aware.
objection, we would look to expand this in those additional areas that have the capability, or the cost be brought forward if they don't.
So is the 12 months still in there?
Yep.
Or the 1 year?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm
Yeah,
fine
you
with
did it
that.
without
That
objection.
already-
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carries. Next is video conferencing inland and hunting conservation committee meeting.
And this is the same.
Just for inland.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors directs Tribal Administration to coordinate the conduct of inland and hunting conservation committee meetings over the tribe's video conferencing equipment at the Manistee and Munising community centers by assigning those tribal employees that are needed to operate the equipment and keep secure those tribal facilities housing the video conferencing equipment.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and support.
Motion to add the same amendments.
That's good. Without objection, we'll add all three of the amendments that we added to the previous one. Hearing none. Denny?
Motion to send it to the inland committee and let them look at it before we pass it. We got their chairman here and they haven't seen nothing or heard nothing about it.
Second.
He mentioned it today.
Okay, the motion and second is to refer to the inland committee.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we don't do that. Once there's a motion, second on the table, we have to vote on it. Okay, so without objection, or all in favor, signify, we can't discuss on the motion to the table. We can't.
This is to refer to committee.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained?
No, I'm gonna oppose it.
Oh, you're opposed? Yeah. Catherine and Kathy. Okay, it is referred to.
There you go.
Alrighty. That one's okay because
Yeah, that's
2020 doesn't.
I'm fine with that.
Good job.
All right, appointment of Elizabeth Prompt Warner as a reservist appellate judge, attorney position.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors hereby appoints Elizabeth Kronk Warner to serve as a reserve appellate judge for the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians Court of Appeals for a 4-year term beginning April 26, 2016. Be it further resolved that the Board of Directors authorizes the chairperson or his designee to contract with Attorney Elizabeth Kronk Warner for the position of reserved appellate judge.
Motion.
Do we have support?
Second.
Motion and support, point of information. John,
Is the sponsor, could I?
well, John's got to actually explain it first, and then we'll go to the discussion.
How about the sponsor?
Okay.
The sponsor.
Yep, that's appropriate.
Okay, and I won't, just a preemption here, John. And Kathy wasn't here, and Kim wasn't here, but we did have an extensive discussion about this today, and so I just wanted to say I wanted this to come forward for a board vote, but I'm looking forward after our discussion that we have a pretty quick up and down vote. And I wanted to say that before you started talking.
Okay, so under Chapter 82 of the Tribal Code, we have a Court of Appeals composed of 5 judges, including 2 attorney judges. They are appointed by the board for 4-year terms. The code also authorizes the board to appoint any number of reserve judges who are asked to step up and help out in cases where the regular judges are unavailable, sick, resigned, have a conflict of interest or whatever. Judge Elizabeth Kronk Warner has served 2 terms. Her second term is coming to a close in about a week, I believe, and she has indicated she lives in Texas now. It's quite difficult for her to participate in these cases. The court has been getting busier, and she has indicated she's requested of the court administrator consideration for appointment as a reserve judge rather than reappointment as a regular attorney judge. This resolution would accomplish that. The board would exercise its authority to appoint Judge Kronk Warner as a reserve judge at the conclusion of her current term as a regular attorney judge on April 24th.
Okay, first is Kathy.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, is this the 3 resolutions or the one is, I wasn't here this afternoon, but I was here last week when we discussed it. And are these the ones that the selection committee made recommendations to do? And
Was there a selection committee?
yes, you were on it.
That was the first one,
You
not
were
the
on the
second.
first one.
That was not,
Not
no,
for this, not for this set.
not for this set.
Yes.
Not for this one.
This one,
No, this is a reappointment. This is, no, we have not had interviews. We have not done
Hasn't
any
been
of that.
posted.
No.
No.
And I opposed it then and I opposed it now.
That last week, the selection committee had brought forth the recommendation to, was it doing this very thing?
Yes.
That are stated here?
Yes.
Thank you. And you, Denny, myself, John, were on that selection committee. And if that's correct, I would like to make an amendment to say that per the selection committee.
It's not correct.
It's not correct. So what happened is there was a vacancy earlier this year, a couple months ago, and the selection committee met and interviewed candidates. And at that time, there's a second resolution up today dealing with Ms. Wickman. She was selected as the best qualified person at that time and was appointed as a reserve judge. That's really kind of a separate issue. In this case, Judge Kronk Warner has simply indicated that rather than being reappointed that as a regular judge, she has expressed an interest in stepping back from that more intensive involvement and
She
is
wasn't
interested
in that
in
round of interviews either. They're different.
So we commonly reappoint judges.
Okay. We discussed this last week.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
Thank you, because I know I'm not crazy.
You're not, we discussed it last.
we did.
I'm trying to get out of this
And
office
7
board
board
without
members
going
so
crazy.
Yeah.
But we did discuss this is exactly what we had recommended.
That's right.
And that's why, okay, then I'll say her recommendation of I don't know what you want to call it.
This is really the recommendation of the court administrator.
Okay, the recommendation of the
So I have a point of information. I was not part of any interviews to interview Judge Kronk. She wasn't in that round. She is not, you were on those interviews, Denny was, I was. She was not in that round of interviews. Carrie was, Elizabeth Dietz was, John Cosley was, but she was not. We didn't make that appointment. That's why her appointment is up now. It's in a different cycle.
I'm not trying to upset anybody. All I'm saying is this is what we recommended last week. There were some people had issues, and you're just saying, and you're saying that this is exactly what we said last week, because we did have a discussion on it. And so I'm not trying to say somebody did this or that or anything, but we discussed it in this.
Didn't 7 board members at the end of last week say that this wasn't ready to be enacted and it wasn't put on the agenda by the board? It was put on the agenda by an individual board member.
Point of information, Aaron. You weren't here last week. Kathy and Jenny and John were here. They explained. They didn't say that you guys were involved in any interviews with Kronk.
Right.
The recommendation was, and Kathy's absolutely right, that we do this first resolution and then the other two. We make her go from the full-time or to the part-time, and then put Carrie Wichman in as the full-time chief judge. In this order, this is how they present to us. You're absolutely right. That's how it was presented to us. She never said that you were part of interviews or anything.
What happened with the 7 board
There was
members
a
who said not to
consensus
bring
for
it back?
7 board
That's
members.
right.
It wasn't a vote, it was a workshop.
It was a workshop. We must have changed. We must have changed our mind. But my point of information is you're right, Kathy. This is how it was presented to us, just like this, and it was a recommendation.
Is there a motion?
DJ.
Yeah,
there of course, yes, we wouldn't be discussing. DJ.
Wow. Question, is there actually a reserve vacancy open right now?
Well, there's never a reserve vacancy open in that there is no set number of reserve judges.
Okay,
so the board has the authority under the code to appoint, quote, any number of reserve judges.
What about the main judges? Is there any openings right now?
There is a forthcoming opening as of April 24th because Judge Cronk's term is expiring and she's indicated a preference not to be
But to be
reappointed.
clear, but to be clear, there is no vacancy right now, right?
No, but there will be in a week.
Okay.
Before we meet again.
Didn't, I believe last week, the consensus was that we normally post these vacancies to see that people who applies for them, and then we select from that.
That happened too.
Yeah, it was posted yesterday. I'm pretty sure that
Yeah.
it was not posted last Tuesday when we discussed it. The last Tuesday it posted it. No.
Telling you when
It was I have the floor.
You have the floor, yes.
I have the floor of the newspaper, it went in the Sioux Evening News, yesterday's paper. It says, here's the vacancies. I don't know about you, but I usually look at it and say, someone should have a chance to put in their application before you rubber stamp it the next day. You know, that's just me. Now, it's a very good candidate. And you know, honestly, with the time frame in the posting, I would have no problem appointing it. But you know what? We have a process.
So
that's what we do.
That actually pertains to the next resolution that comes up.
To me, it pertains to both because in this case, it's an appellate, it's a reserve position, and that's also posted, which means you're appointing someone to a reserve position that's posted without going through the process. So it applies to both to me.
Is that a motion?
Motion to table.
Second.
Is the motion and second to table? Let's have a roll call on that. Please.
Lana?
No.
Kathy?
No.
DJ?
Yes.
Keith?
No.
Kim?
Yes.
Catherine?
No.
Denny?
No.
Denise?
Yes.
Bridget?
No.
Darcy?
Violation of the rules.
Jennifer?
Yes.
2, 4, 5.
Thank you, John.
Motion denied.
Good, it's denied.
6 to 5.
Okay, so further discussion. Denise?
No.
No, I was just gonna say on this one and the next two, we had that discussion at the workshop last week. Quite a lengthy discussion on it, and at the end, I polled the board, and 7 board members said they wanted it to be posted for 2 months like we do on all other committees. because I have an issue with that. We have elder, people that are trying to get on the elder committees and stuff, and we're told, well, they have to wait, it hasn't been posted for 2 months. So then we're gonna jump the gun and we're gonna, do this. And the court can, if an issue comes up, the court can appoint a temporary interim judge if needed. So, I'm supporting, having it posted for the 2 months like the discussion had. And I don't know how it turned into all of a sudden that there was 7 that were for it, and then all of a sudden it's on the agenda. So anyway, but I'm just gonna, I will vote no on it if you're going to push it through like that. So.
Well, Kathy's right, and Denise, you're right too. We did have that workshop, and 7 of us said post it. One board member has the authority, just like Darcy reminded me today, and the ability to put anything they want on the agenda. It's on the agenda as presented to us by the committee with their recommendations to do this. I'm not saying I'm supporting all of them, but that's the board member's right to put those on. And again, this was recommended by a committee. Kathy already said that. Denny was on the committee. These 3 things were recommended by the committee to do.
No, we haven't had a chance to completely cover that history, but what happened was we had a vacancy a couple of months ago. The committee recommended Carrie Wichtman for appointment as a reserve judge, and I think reported to this committee they found her to be extremely well qualified.
Right.
Since those interviews were just a relatively short time ago. In the interim, what's happened is Judge Kronk Warner's term is expiring, thereby triggering the need to appoint a new person. The court administrator determined that because we had just done interviews, the board might wish to consider simply promoting Judge Wickman, who was just interviewed and determined to be qualified. And that's the second motion, that's a resolution that's up.
So the second, which one is the committee's recommendation?
The committee's recommendation was to appoint Judge Wickman as a reserve judge.
The third one.
Well, no.
No, they're not on here.
None of these. This was an action taken by the board 2 months ago to appoint Carrie Wichtman as a reserve judge. The court administrator has recommended at this point that because we've just done interviews and Wichtman was found to be highly qualified, and given this vacancy that's about to occur, the court has recommended to the board that they simply promote Carrie Wichtman from reserve to full judge. In effect, swap Kronk Warner with Wichtman. So, but there are 3 separate decisions that are before you today. One is Judge Kronk's term is expiring, and that can be allowed to terminate, or you can appoint her as a reserve judge, in which case she would be called upon only in the event that there was a shortage for some reason. The second recommendation and the second resolution that is before you would be to proceed immediately to appoint Judge Wickman as a regular judge instead of simply a reserve judge. And that raises the issues that several of you have discussed about whether you want to have her and others go through a new set of interviews or whether the recent interviews were sufficient to convince you that you should go ahead. The board has that authority under the code. The final resolution that's before you is that we don't have a chief judge, and under the code, it is the responsibility of the board to designate one of the 5 sitting judges as a chief judge. And the recommendation to you is that if you appoint Judge Wickman as a regular judge, a regular attorney judge, the recommendation is that you then appoint her as chief judge. So those are the three resolutions that are before you. They're all really separate. Judge Kronk's term will expire in a week, irrespective of what you do, and there will be a vacancy.
And the court has the prerogative to move a reserve up to judge.
We always have the prerogative to call upon the reserves. That's why we have them.
We don't have to do anything.
And in terms of the direction to post, many of you indicated a desire to have the position posted. That was done immediately. In fact, I know it showed up in Turtle Talk literally within an hour after we discussed it, and then in the Sioux News yesterday, you said?
Yeah.
So it's out there, and if the appointment is made, then no interviews will be scheduled. If the board decides that it would prefer to go through an interview process and does not wish to pass the resolutions tonight, then the court will proceed to set up an interview panel and do interviews for the vacant attorney judge position. So there will also be another vacant position coming up in a couple of weeks for, I think it's one of the non-attorney judges. One of those judge positions is expiring.
Okay, so the way I understand it, there are two different things were happening. The committee was making a recommendation on Carrie Witch.
The committee's not involved in this at this point.
No committee. This
We're going back
recommendation.
2 years with her, a year ago, or almost 2 years. When we interviewed, when did we make that appointment?
For Wickman?
Yeah.
A couple of months ago.
Oh.
Very recently.
Was it that?
That was after.
It seems like it was a long time
No,
ago.
it's January.
Okay. But the committee recommendation has nothing to do with what we're doing right now, because we follow that recommendation to make her reserve.
Reserve, yes.
Okay. The committee's not engaged in this process at all.
So, but they are, in a sense, they're very separate decisions. The first question is, do you wish to retain Judge Cronk as a reserve judge? You have the power to appoint any number of reserve judges. The court likes to have lots of reserve judges because when an issue arises where there's a conflict, sometimes several people are conflicted out. So it's helpful to have them. It costs us nothing. It simply means that the commitment exists. If we need them, we can call upon them. And so they're sort of in the stable if we need them. That's decision one. Decision two is, do each of you feel that it's appropriate to, in effect, promote Judge Wickman from a reserve judge to become a regular judge? And then if so, do you wish Judge Wickman to serve as the chief judge? Those are the three questions before you today.
Okay. Danny? Was it before? Okay, Kathy?
I think you have to go to that.
Other than Jason,
Keep
I'd like to say something.
Well, I'm going to say, it's not that clean cut and dry. It's also, do you wish to follow the policies and procedures that you have adopted, not just pick someone to be a judge? I mean, why have them? Why post? Why do anything? The person, like I said, hell of a candidate, great fit for us, but you still have a process, and you're throwing it out. So, I mean, so it's not just a clear cut, do you want to pick this person? No, it's, you have a process. You want to amend it to say we ignore the fact that we post for these positions and therefore be resolved that we pick this person? Sure.
I don't know that there's a formal process, but I believe there certainly has been a practice of conducting interviews.
Oh, for the judge. So what
Sir,
he's referring to is the committees. So I'm told there's a distinction between the judges and the committees, but they're all appointments of the board.
Yes.
Everything that is appointed by the board is a committee of the board. And so I would interpret that this is a committee of the board, even though they're judges, because the board makes the appointment. So I'm also going to rule that I believe that it's going to take 7 votes, because that means you have to override the policy that the board voted on that requires the 2 months' notice. And you can overrule me if you want, but I believe that we put that in place for a reason. It was demanded by the board. We drafted it up and the board approved, requiring all committee posts to be, it's a standard the elders have to follow. A couple elder appointments could not happen because they didn't follow that initially. And so.
Just as a point of information, Eric, whether you rule that or not, it's amending something previously adopted, so it still takes 7. So
Okay. Next is Jennifer.
We should happen to find ourselves without a chief judge and we have a need for that, are we able to take a reserve judge and do that with her? Or
I answered it, but she needs to hear from you.
So
no, I'm actually looking for a simple yes or no if I could.
I'm not sure it's possible to give you a simple yes or no. The code says that the board shall appoint the chief judge from among the 5 regular judges. So if Judge Cronk is not reappointed, there will at that point be 4 regular judges, and the board would have the power to appoint one of them either on an acting basis or a full-time basis. In the absence of action by the board, so the last time the board acted to appoint a chief judge was in 2008, and that appointment expired in 2012. Since that time, Judge Cronk has continued, as she was appointed in 2008. There was no appointment in 12 or thereafter. She has continued to serve as acting chief judge by, as I understand it, by designation of the other judges. And that is the practice that has occurred. I presume it will continue. There has to be some mechanism for dealing with it, because the role of chief judge is pretty critical to the functioning of the court. You need to have a chief judge in order for the court to function. That's one of the concerns that brings these resolutions forward, is we're at a time when appeals are increasing in frequency, and we're in an election cycle where the court plays an important role in hearing election challenges. And so the concern was to try to find a way to give you a way to try to make sure that the court was at full complement, if you choose to do that.
Thank you.
So I didn't.
Danny.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Danny.
Go ahead.
Danny.
Okay, if I'm not wrong thinking about this, we will not have a chief judge unless we appoint the only regular attorney left. No,
There's two others.
No.
Oh, if we don't appoint that, Gary, right?
No, if we don't appoint the other regular judge on the court right now. Okay, you got one still, term's not up. Kronk will be gone. You're moving the reserve up just to sit in. And we're not, if we have to wait 2 months to wait to get a regular judge back on, in a month to have your interviews or whatever you set up, or hopefully it'll all be done by then. No, we gotta wait 2 months for advertising. So 3 months, we're not gonna have a chief judge. Unless we appoint tonight, and it's not on the agenda, unless we appoint the other person, because I don't know how we can appoint a chief judge when you still have Kronk until next week.
We don't have a chief judge now.
That's what I said.
So she was never appointed by this board.
2008.
Her term expired in 2012. Her term expired. She's not the chief judge. But, so here's the one thing I'm not sure that we got, Denny, is without doing anything, we have the one judge, I forget his name.
Jay Finch is the attorney.
Yeah, and then the court automatically pulls up. We don't have to do anything to pull Carrie up. And if they currently have the authority to appoint Kronk chief judge, they have the authority to appoint Carrie chief judge.
I don't think they had the authority, and I don't think they just did it for lack of guidance from us, because we got out of the business. So
It came to the board for action, and the board refused to appoint her as the chief judge in 2012.
Then how do we appoint her back on a
The board did appoint, because it's similar to what we have in front of us. The board appointed her back onto the court, but they refused, because I talked about my concerns about her as chief judge, and the board did approve her as chief judge. I don't even think we entertained the motion. We had a resolution to do it, but we didn't vote on it. So here's my concerns. My concerns, I think it's already been said enough that we hold all other committees of the tribe to a standard that we put in place. So I think you have to revoke that in order to do something different than that. Otherwise, or 7 votes would override it, I guess. And in 2012, we failed to reappoint Kronk. I expressed my concerns with the judicial activism that came from Kronk in 2008 in the case, where before she was appointed chief judge, she asserted herself as chief judge. The board had to pass a resolution to clean it up. I refused to sign that resolution because of the issues with her legislating from the bench. Today we reviewed a current case. The current case, the judges that reviewed it did it very carefully, very deliberately, and they honored the law of the tribe. They didn't write legislation from the bench. In her case, Kronk's case, they wrote legislation from the bench. And I'm a strict constructionist, and some people claim I'm a big liberal, but when it comes to a constitution, whether I like our existing constitution or not, the board of directors has the legislative authority. A judge doesn't have the legislative authority. And in 2008, she set law. And that's why I don't think she should be reappointed at all. And if she is, I'm going to do a referendum. Motion to table. All right, so without objection, we'll have a roll call vote. Okay, Kathy.
Well, I just wanted to say that, you know, you refer to elder committees, I'm sorry, but you refer to elder committees and that we vote on them in, but we don't interview the elders like we did these lawyers, these judges.
So again, for the purposes of what we're doing tonight, Kathy, we didn't interview them at all. None of the judges in front of us were interviewed for this purpose tonight, for the chief judge, for the appointment as judge, or for the reservists. We didn't interview them. That was from a previous cycle where a number of judges were.
I know, okay, yes, well, we interviewed them, we don't interview elder.
You're right, that's correct.
So there's a difference, that's the way I see it.
Okay, roll call.
Denny,
What's this for?
this is appointing Cronk Warner
As reserve.
as reserve
No, no.
appellate.
No, she could be off the board anyway.
Jennifer,
No.
Bridget,
No.
Darcy,
No.
Kathy,
No.
Catherine,
No?
Keith,
No.
Denise,
No.
Lana,
No.
DJ,
No.
Kim.
No.
Motion denied.
Surprise!
All right, the next one should be quick, right?
I don't think it's funny.
All right, appointment of Carrie Wichman as an appellate judge.
Do I have a,
Now therefore.
wait, do we have to have a motion first? Oh, you gotta read it, sorry.
Now therefore be
I'm
resolved
getting mixed up.
that the Board of Directors hereby appoints Carrie Wichman to serve as an appellate judge and attorney position for the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians Court of Appeals for a 4-year term beginning April 26, 2016, and authorizes the chairperson or his designee to contract with attorney Carrie Wichman for that position.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and support, any discussion?
Motion
Or
to-
John?
Second.
Sorry, John.
There's a motion to table.
I have a question.
Okay, wait, there's a motion on the table. Who are the motions to? DJ and Darcy. So we have to dispense with that first. Okay, all in favor? Let's do a roll call. Roll call.
Darcy,
Yes.
DJ,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Denise,
Yes.
Kathy,
No.
Keith,
Yes.
Lana,
No.
Denny,
Oh,
Kim,
Yes.
Bridget,
No.
Catherine.
No.
Motion carries.
Next is, well, I guess it's gonna move.
It would be moot because she's not eligible. The next resolution would appoint her as chief judge, and only sitting judges, the 5 sitting judges, are eligible for appointment as chief. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Raise her up.
Point of information,
Yeah.
Aaron. So Carrie Wichman is still a reserve appellate judge,
Yes, she is.
okay? And Judge Cronk is still a regular judge.
For 1 week, yeah.
5
Let me
days.
let me finish, so I can flush this out, because it's really, and we're all set. If something happens in the meantime, everybody's there, it'll be posted for 2 months, we'll go through the interviews and do all that.
Presumably, yes. We're going to lose another judge in about 2 weeks. Judge Nertoli's term expires, and that's been posted, and there'll be interviews. And I understand he will be reapplying, I understand. So there will be 2 vacancies to fill, 1 attorney judge, 1 community judge. The chief judge has to be appointed from among the 5 regular judges. With Mr. Natoli's departure, there would be 3 potential eligibles. That would be Judge Finch, an attorney judge, and one of the 2 community judges, Judge Dietz and Judge Cosley, yes. So those are the 3 that would be eligible to serve as chief.
Jump.
They're reserved.
they're reserve judges.
No, they're community judges, they're not reserve.
They're elder, reserve elder.
Yes, they're reserve
Oh,
elders.
reserve elder.
Then I have,
Lori Jump and,
I'm sorry, you're right, I had the names wrong. It's Lori Jump and Danelda Harper are the community judges. I apologize. So the eligibles would be Jay Finch, attorney judge, Lori Jump, and Danelda Harper as community judges. I'm sorry.
Okay, John, do I have the floor, John?
Yes.
Okay, John, you just said something that, you said, Judge Nertoli, his term is coming up, and he's going to ask to be reappointed. Okay.
That's
so
my understanding.
with that stopped me here, because We just passed this, we just defeated this to have Judge Warner be a reserve.
Yes.
But then she could still come forward and ask to be reappointed.
She could.
Well, I'm being called to orders of the day, and this is out of order.
Yes.
Is it?
It is. It is. I thought the point of inquiry would have been quick and easy, but it ended up into a discussion. So
Well, I was trying to find out if it was done.
Actually,
yet.
there is no point of inquiry unless you actually have a motion on the floor. There's no discussion unless you have a motion.
I didn't do an inquiry, I said
I-
that's who you are.
I know, and I okay, GLRI Wildlife Projects FY 2016 budget modification.
Be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians hereby approves the FY 2016 budget modification to GLRI Wildlife Projects for an increase of federal BIA monies of $42,552.65. No effect on travel support.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and support without objection. I'll briefly explain. It's two seasonal field technicians and a portion of the assessment biologist as project coordinator. Eric has already gone over this with us, and it is federal dollars. It's under $50,000. Is there any questions or comments? Without objection, or all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carries. Coastal Program FY 2016 budget modification.
Be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians hereby approves the FY 2016 budget modification to Coastal Program for an increase of federal U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service monies of $19,092.19. No effect on travel support.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and support. This one, again, was without objection. I'll explain this one. This one also was explained by Eric previously. It's similar. This one protects cattails, phragmites, and purple loose striped infestations. Invasive species. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion.
They throw $20,000 out of it.
All right, next is amending Horn Pay Grid Health Center employee policies.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors hereby amends the compensation administrative guidelines for the Health Division adopted by Resolution 2010-33 and amended from time to time since then to create a hardship pay category within the dentist, chief solo dentist, and staff dentist positions for the personnel employed to work exclusively at the Manistee Clinic, with pay for these positions at that location to be approved at the 75th percentile. Be it further resolved that this amendment will be in effect for the 2016 fiscal year and forward.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, there's motion and support, and Tony Abramson is here.
I'm here on behalf of the health program. The rest of our managers are working on our accreditation survey. Yes, the health program is requesting that this hardship pay category be established so that we can staff the Manistee facility with a dentist. Our program has been without a dentist there, a full-time dentist, for almost a year. And we've had a tremendous difficult time recruiting someone to take that position. We have a health professional pay scale called HORN that allows and is developed to allow some flexibility for special circumstances such as this. And we ask that the board approve this hardship pay category that would raise the salary of the beginning dentist so that we can continue to provide services in Manistee.
Call for the vote.
Okay.
Second.
Without objection, the vote has been called. Without objection, we'll have a roll call vote.
Bridget?
Yes.
Lana?
Yes.
DJ?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Darcy?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes?
Jennifer?
Yes.
Denise?
Yes.
Keith?
Yes.
Danny?
Yes.
Motion carries.
That's the way to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is after-hours care clinics contracts.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians does hereby delegate to the chairperson or his designee the authority to contract with available health delivery agencies in the area for after-hours care for the members for the purpose of expanding health delivery and access. Be it further resolved that the Board of Directors of the tribe does hereby delegate this authority to enter into these agreements on a long-term basis to secure the services needed by the members.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and support.
Yes, thank you. This initiative has been we've been working on this now for quite some time. It's part of a program to expand services to tribal members residing across the 7-county service area. In particular, we're looking at access to after-hours care, urgent care type services. These services through these clinics that we're working with would be available to tribal members as triage through our new team health triage system that's set up. A tribal member would call the health center. If they called during the day, they would be provided services at the facility that they called. If it's after hours, the call would go to a triage system that would assess their problem and direct them properly to the appropriate place. In this instance, the ER would be one option. Another option would be urgent care facility. Another option might be follow back up in the clinic the next day. It really promotes better coordination of care and really provides better services for tribal members. It provides them with some helpful information on where to go and where to obtain services in the most appropriate manner. This resolution allows us to contract with facilities that provide after-hours care. So it's not every facility. It would be facilities that would be beneficial for us to contract with that have after-hour services after our normal clinic hours. So.
Okay, and with this, it's good to me.
Yep.
Without objection, the question has been called. Without objection, we'll have a roll call vote.
Lana?
Yes.
Kathy? DJ?
Yes.
Keith?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
Danny?
Yes.
Denise?
Yes.
Bridget?
Yes.
Darcy?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Again, thank you very much.
And that's
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carries. Go watch the election primaries. Vote Trump.
No campaigning on